Just four of us?
Welcome to the Clause YouTube channel.
4 hours.
Together,
Ashok ji, hello,
we
कैसे?
strive for a safer, secure and more stable world.
Hello and good evening to all of our audience. Welcome to Strategic Frontlines, that is the official YouTube channel for the Center for Land Warfare Studies, where we are here with another topical podcast for the day. We have a stellar panel with us. And before we get to the meat of the matter, it is my absolute honor to introduce the panel. First, we have with us Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, who after 42 years of distinguished service in the Indian Army, which includes co-commander of the prestigious 15 Corps, Chinar Corps in Srinagar, and the Director General of the Territorial Army, is now a strategic and security analyst who has a massive fan following online. So, of course, the man needs no introduction. We also have with us Dr. Ashok Behuria, who is a recipient of the prestigious K. Subramaniam Award for his absolute massive knowledge on Pakistan and is currently a senior fellow and coordinator at the South Asia Center at MP-IDSA. We also have with us Clause's own Dr. Tara Kartha, who is yet again an absolute authority on counterterrorism, South Asian security issues, who was earlier with the National Security Council Secretariat and is now mentoring and teaching the next generation of scholars like myself as the Director of Research and Academics here at Clause. I welcome all of you to our podcast today, and it is so great to have all of you here, where we are discussing something that is very emergent and very important when it comes to South Asian regional politics and violence in our neighborhood. We are today talking about the recent Afghanistan-Pakistan skirmish that has happened across the Durand Line. What we do know of is on the 9th of October, that is Thursday last week, there were blasts heard in Kabul and in the southeastern province of Paktika in Afghanistan. The blasts were immediately attributed by the Afghan side to Pakistan, where while there have been no comments that have come from the Pakistani side about why those blasts occurred and what is the motive behind it, there have been reports, unnamed military personnel from the Pakistani side who suggested that the target was the commander and the leader of the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, TTP, Noor Wali Mehsood. We have no confirmation about his whereabouts. The Afghan side is saying that, he was nowhere in Afghanistan on Afghan soil at that point in time. However, after the 9th of October, we also know of 11th of October when Afghanistan, in what they are calling retaliatory strikes, attacked a couple of posts on the Durand Line, that is the colonial border between the two countries. For the benefit of contextualizing the podcast as well as for the benefit of our viewers, here is a little map that we have from Al Jazeera, which tells us where the initial 6 posts that were attacked by the Afghan side in their retaliatory strikes happened. If you look, we have Angur Adda, Bajor, Kurram, Dir, Chitral, and Bhairamcha. And here's where it gets interesting is because if you look at Angur Adda, which is right at the top in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, 5 in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, 1 in Balochistan. Angur Adda, interestingly, had just opened after a 2-year break. It was closed down for 2 years and has just recently opened up. It opened up on the 3rd of October, and yet again, we see in a couple of days' time that it has been a site and source of attack and skirmishes between the two countries. We see all of these places. If you look at Bhairamcha, this is a conversation that I was having with Dr. Kartha earlier in the day, when we see that Bhairamcha is of particular importance, and we will get into that throughout the podcast. But what has happened out of all of these skirmishes is that the Torkham and Chaman crossings between the two countries, they have closed down. There is massive mobilization that is happening. There are reports of massive mobilization happening on both sides. We know of the Afghan local sources. Tolo News is saying that the Afghan Ministry of Defense is already planning or has already set out deploying tanks and heavy ammunition and artillery on the Durand Line. We have similar reports coming in from the Pakistani side, where, albeit unverified, but there are OSINT reports that suggest that the Kurram Paktia border and Frontier Corps is involved. We know that troops of the 41 Horse, troops of the 148 AD, and all of these units and army formations from the Pakistani side, they are also being deployed. There is sort of a discrepancy in terms of the kind of casualties that both sides have given to each other. Afghanistan says that at least 58 Pakistani soldiers were killed and 30 others were injured. However, those figures don't match with what Pakistan is saying. Pakistan said that they lost 23 of their own and 200 plus Talibani fighters and affiliated terrorists, quote unquote, suffered in all of these skirmishes that have been happening. While all of this happens, we have international actors that come in. We have Saudi Arabia and Qatar who have come in and voiced statements of concern, urging both sides to, exercise restraint and engage in dialogue rather than escalating it. We also, of course, have the United States President Donald Trump come in and say, and I quote, "I'm good at solving war." So we do expect him to kind of come into this crisis as well and try to see how he can get an inroad in the entire situation. So while Pakistan claims that 21 hostile positions were captured, Afghanistan claims that 25 Pakistani military posts were captured and the weapons left behind by the Pakistani military forces have now been taken over by the Afghan Taliban fighters. So while all of this is happening, my job here is to contextualize before we get into the whys and whats of the discussion. For that, I'd request Dr. Kartha to go ahead and let's start talking about what this is looking like for India.
Okay, excellent introduction, Akashika. I think the burning question here now is why now? I mean, just was it coincidental that the Afghan acting foreign minister was in India? Or was it just that the Pakistanis got tired of the whole thing and said, I mean, they've been warning for some time and they had that horrendous attack where I think even a colonel was killed, a bunch of soldiers were killed. So my first question would be to General Pandey. General Pandey, what do you think? Is it that the Pakistanis just decided, oh, you're going to India, we're going to sort you out?
Yeah, so thank you, Kartha, and outstanding introduction, Akashika. A couple of things, let's see what we are dealing with. We are dealing with two sets of people, Afghans and Pakistanis. Both are totally different, chalk and cheese. Afghans are loyalists. They will give their life. They will never speak lies. Very rarely they will do something wrong. If they are doing drugs, they will say they are doing drugs. If they are punishing women for what they are punishing for, they will say, yeah, we are punishing women. So it's very clear they don't operate in grays. So what they say, one will like to believe. There may be some errors in truth, but the fact is, this is the kind of people we are dealing. The Pakistanis on the other side are rentiers, individual-wise, country-wise, and they are known and been established not only to Indians, but I think the world across, that they're liars and they can keep on lying from the truth, and they can't trust each other. They cannot trust anybody outside. The third is we are dealing with Indians, right? In which we very quickly contextualize every incident. If this has happened about 10 days earlier or 10 days later, we would have said that this event has happened because so-and-so was coming, going, saying something. It was SCO, it was Trump meeting, it was Gaza peace effort, it was Modi's election, it was Bihar election. We very quickly contextualize and we find simple solution rather than thinking that an action of these natures to carry out a strike in Afghanistan deep into Kabul and also along the eastern Afghanistan border requires not a visit by somebody from Afghanistan to India. It requires huge amount of intelligence preparation, overwatch, a time to be get ready to be respond. It requires weapons to be ready. It requires aircrafts to get airborne. When we had to carry out a retaliation, our planning process took us about 14 to 15 days, even though we are regularly planning only for a very limited kind of a strike. It was not a major operation, right? And then the Masood, this TTP Amir, is not a very easy character to find. He's moving mobile. He's not a static. We hit static targets. We did not hit mobile targets. So all these things aren't easy. You just can't say that Mutaki is going, okay, oh, by the way, Wali Masood is here and therefore I'm going to strike him today and punish Afghanistan for doing XYZ. My larger answer, the answer to your question is that number of things have happened over a period of time. So this could have happened 10 days earlier. It could have happened after 1 month. What are these challenges? In last about couple of years, since time the Taliban has come into power and Americans went back, lakhs of Afghans have been sent back. Right, that is
Yes.
one part. So they are not teaming. Second is these people have spent their lifetime in Pakistan being nurtured, fed, doing all criminal activities, dirt, ill-educated. They don't have any skills, and where they are going back to Afghanistan, there are no jobs. There is nothing to do. They had their lives around all these places. There's an anger and anguish which is burning up in these people who are going back. The second is with Trump blessing. What happens is we are dealing in Pakistan with Punjabi leaders or a leader who's a radical like Asim Munir. Whenever they get encouragement, a little bit success, things go to the head and they start doing something which gets beyond the control. And you are seeing very clearly what is happening within the country. It has not happened because of loss of control. It has happened because a huge ego is at work, and that is a Punjabi ego which is at work. So I understand that this Punjabi ego, which is also radical, is at work, and this whole thing with engagement with Trump has given them a high that we can get away with anything in this country, in this world today. The larger other part is that the world itself is quite embroiled in number of activities. So that is one part. But within Afghanistan, things aren't easy, right? Afghanistan today is in a fractious position. What was there about 2 years back or something, over a period of time, there's a power struggle which is happening inside in terms of how to apply their religious angle to this thing, to the country, or how to modernize and get economy going. And when you are playing between the religion and economy, they are on two opposite part. And that is where there is a moderate function. Moderate is quite radical moderate, but moderate and radical polarization is taking place in that country because they are also finding it struggle to go over it. And the final nail in the coffin is the drugs, right? The entire economy, a large portion of economy of Pakistan runs on drugs and human smuggling and begging. So is the case of Afghanistan, which is quite centered around drugs. And this issue is now getting a challenge in that area. Pakistan is unable to control the drug part because now the Afghans are trying to sell these drugs directly to the people who want to buy. So that cut part is getting reduced, and therefore they are getting a clientele. This is a very, very underlying theme. So I've covered a range of issues. This knick-knack was always happening on the borders. And with number of actions which is taking place from Pashtuns, which are on either side of the border, and of course they reside in their leadership and command control and moral support resides in Afghanistan. This has come as a big thing. And you imagine the shock. They kept on thinking for last about 40 years. Twice they thought when Taliban will come, there are rentier, there are proxies, and they will listen to what we are saying. It aren't happening. So all these things has brought the boil to burst, and sometime it was to burst. It aren't burst adequately enough, by the way. And this we'll possibly discuss when you talk about the future, what's going to come about.
Ashok, I'm going to put the same question to you in terms of timing, right? One is, in addition to what, I absolutely agree with what General Pandey said, that you have to get the target, you have to have the option ready, you have to make sure it's there, all that. Given all that, despite that, you have the TLP protests, you have the POK protests, and then they open another front. So it's somewhere that it doesn't make sense. What do you think about the timing of this attack?
No, I think it was quite predictable because on 8th you saw in Chaklala base Asim Munir Shehbaz Sharif turning up for offering the last funeral rites for one lieutenant colonel and one major who were taken out by the TTP on 7th October night. And if you saw that visual, you could guess that the Pakistanis are not going to take it lying down. All the biggies were there, all the top generals were there, and they sent off the two martyrs, as they said, but there were other casualties as well. The army took about 11 casualties that night. The 7th October was the one for which on 9th October they carried out that aerial raids in Islamabad. Uh, and on 10th morning, there was a tentative claim that the head of TTP, Nuru Ali Mahsood, has been taken down. Only a couple of hours later, Nuru Ali Mahsood appeared in a telegram show with his own voice. In fact, he didn't appear, his voice appeared rather.
Voice
So,
appears.
yeah. In the voice was his, and he said that today is this date, and I'm alive. But that was the turning point in the attack on 7th October night. In fact, that is not a lone attack. If we look at the way the TTP has attacked Pakistani security forces over time, it is astounding. Like in August, they came out with a publication which said they had carried out 1,378 attacks till then. This is quite high. But if you go by the reports from Pakistani think tanks and all, last year there were about 484 attacks. And by early October, I think by the beginning of October, the count was well over 300. So which means that, we are well on our way to witness a bigger number of attacks in Pakistan this year, only from TTP. So, so Pakistanis were actually provoked into action. I think the TTP was what do you say? They were not at all discouraged by the air raids that were carried out in Afghanistan. Perhaps Taliban were to respond to that. TTP came back heavily on 9th, 10th, 11th. Every day they were attacking Pakistani forces. On 11th, they attacked two police stations, one in Dera Ismail Khan and the other one in Peshawar. And they killed 7 police officers in one and 4 and 5 on the in the other police station. So they are not being discouraged by these attacks. And this is what is actually creating problems for the Pakistani state. Even if they are going full steam ahead, they are unable to contain the tide. That is why they are trying to put a lot of pressure on the Taliban. And the trip by Mutaki to India at this juncture, I don't think this had got to do with this attack, remotely so. This was supposed to happen even if Mutaki would not have visited India. I will put it that way. But anyway, Mutaki's presence in India gave a different kind of a twist to the entire attack. And whatever Mutaki pronounced here in terms of J&K, in terms of Pakistan's internal problem, that was actually something which actually created further ruckus within the establishment in Pakistan. In the MOFA and the ISPR, they came out with statements that we didn't like these elements in the joint statement. So that's a different ball game altogether. But if we're looking at the Pakistan-Afghanistan clashes, it is because of this. Because on 9th, they struck Kabul. 10th, 11th, the TTP strikes back with a revanche. And that is what has created problems, for the Pakistanis. And that is why, and not only that, Taliban were also not to be discouraged. TTP was attacking, and Taliban also attacked Pakistani checkposts. So this was a double whammy in the sense, both TTP and Taliban were attacking Pakistan. And that is why Pakistan had to go berserk. And that is what happened on 11th, 12th night. And they went out and captured all these 2021 posts. And they claim that they have killed 200. TTP says, no, not this much. Taliban are also saying not this much. They have accepted that 21 people have died on their side. But Taliban are saying there are 58. So this kind of claims and counterclaims will go on, but the fact remains that the Taliban are as much pissed up with Pakistani army as Pakistan army is also pissed up with them. And this is not going to stop anytime sooner. This is going to continue as we discuss this issue. And Trump has now come in and said that this is waiting to happen. I will come and strike peace there. Saudis and the Qataris have also kicked in, so they are trying to bring reason to both Taliban and the Pakistanis. But the elephant in the room is TTP. Even if Taliban, even if Taliban and Pakistan were to come to terms with each other, if they also there is some delegation visiting Kabul or some delegation from Kabul visiting Islamabad, I don't think the TTP are going to obey one or the other. They are going to oblige one or the other. So that's the problem.
Okay, I'll just take off from that with a quick question to both of you all, because that I think, and then I'm going to hand over to Akashika, but we'll take a short answers so that we can go into the, there's so many facets to this. Has the Taliban got the ability to actually take on the TTP, given that, they are also fighting the Islamic State, given also that one of the attacks by the Afghans was on Bharamcha, from where the ISK is operating. So it is equally on both sides. I mean, nobody talks about the Islamic State, which is sitting there. We've got so much of reports of them in Bharamcha, which is why they attacked it, and other parts. So is this, I mean, on the one side, is Pakistan losing some average of 300 a month? I mean, this is unsustainable. But on the other hand, can the Taliban actually do something about the TTP? So, General Pandey, your answer, please.
Ma'am, okay. A quick answer is that firstly, does Taliban want to do something about TTP is a major question, right? One is that. And second is, it is also countervail what is Pakistan is doing through ISKP, which we just said, right? It is a back and forth, is giving back. Second is, I don't think Afghanistan wants to fight a conventional kind of a war with for whatever happens, because Taliban are pretty good at fighting a guerrilla war. They have already defeated Soviet Union, and they have also they're high on success of having defeated Americans. Warplanes bombing will not dissuade Taliban or TTP, right? Because they are given to death. These things can only affect a country like maybe Pakistan, in which they got structures in place and all. Because if Taliban takes a step back, the person who's going to step back is going to actually get killed. So that is a major issue. And therefore, one is that. Second is the issue of Durand Line, the issue of the border, the issue of Pakistan making statements. When you make a public statement, it doesn't go back out. Making a statement that we did everything for you guys, we have paid money for, to create Taliban, make you succeed. You are there saying that you must be servile to us. These things are not taken well in tribal communities. Anywhere in the world when you go, nobody will accept it. And Taliban will not accept it. They know they got the time on their side. They are in no rush. And this perception which people are thinking, like a lot of people have said, that Qataris and Saudis are trying to negotiate a peace process or something. I feel that whatever happens here in Afghanistan along this border between these two countries and ISKP and TTP and other elements, Saudis will like to continue to have it here, because every ISKP, every TTP chap killed, all commitment of Pakistan in this region remains. The people who are going to come out and hit Saudis and other establishments are the numbers reducing. So we should not get too carried away by public statements. They are pretty well quite happy with Pakistan, Afghanistan, Taliban getting stuck in the slugfest. It is going to be a slugfest. It is not going to be a very formal conventional war, tanks rolling in, maneuver warfare taking place, land or prisoners being captured. I don't think so that is possible as of now. If Pakistan decides to do something silly of this nature, they feel, when you're carrying out an operation against India, the country may unite. But in this case, they may find that they have actually bitten much more than they can chew. That is the time the people, the Maulvis, the mullahs, everybody is going to take their pound of flesh, not only from the establishment, but there is a high possibility of runaway provinces and states where the rule of law in any case is not there today. It will actually go away very fast down deep.
I think that's a very good point. Absolutely. Ashok, your take on this? Can the Taliban actually rein in the TTP?
I can only say that if they sincerely want to do that, they can, but it will come at a cost. The cost is the nature of the beast. The beast that we know, that the TTP is actually, as I was telling somebody the other day, it is at the intersection of Al Qaeda and ISKP, and the Taliban are happy that they have the goodwill of the TTP with them, because TTP can function as an intermediary between them and ISKP, because ISKP is the only animal that they are worried about in Afghanistan. So it is very interesting, and TTP stands with its legs in two different boats, Taliban and ISKP. So there are elements within TTP who are also there. You see, this is very interesting. The Pakistanis attacked two places, one in Helmand, the other one also in Helmand, which is Asmatullah Qarar camp. Asmatullah Qarar camp is a camp which was actually remote to have trained people from TTP to strike in Pakistan. And Brahmachar is the area which is actually well known for drugs trade.
Yes.
A lot of drugs used to pass through Brahmachar during earlier days. But these two places had acted as nodes of TTP resistance, and Pakistan has taken them down. So I clearly foresee that in the days to come, what will happen that Taliban may try to persuade TTP to lower their attacks on Pakistan for some time, but they are not going to entirely shut down their subs. And two, there are a lot of people within Taliban these days who empathize with the TTP's program. The TTP wants to replace the Pakistan army with an Islamic army and bring Islamic Sharia to Pakistan exactly like they have done in Afghanistan. So, and people in Taliban, and the TTA, I call it, Tehrik-e-Taliban Afghanistan, has lot of empathies ideologically with TTP. So that is not going to go away. So in that sense, because of this ideological similarity between these two organizations, I don't think TTP will feel obliged or we will try to return the favor to Pakistan by clamping down on them. They have not done it even till today. They are not going to do it any further. But if people like Trump comes in, or Saudis come in, or Qataris come in, what will happen that you may see a lowering of attacks from TTP, because here you must understand the trigger is not Pakistan's resolve to take out terrorism. Pakistanis never have any resolve to take out terrorism because they use terrorism as an instrument all the time. So they are basically trying to ensure that TTP doesn't attack them. Here the trigger is TTP, and the TTP will have to behave. But who will make them behave remains to be seen. Will Trump be able to do that? Will he bring down his own American, this weapons and this what do you say, missiles, and hit their camps, because Pakistanis seem to be having fair amount of intelligence on where all their training camps are distributed across the border. But perhaps they do not have the wherewithal like this guy has, Trump has. So we have to wait and watch, because Trump, if he kicks in, gets in with his with the American might, with his American firepower, then the equation may change. And another important thing that we have to find out is Trump has his own whims and caprices. Now his whim is that I have to get back to Bagram, and Iran, Pakistan, Russia, and China, they have come together in Moscow Forum and said that, no to Bagram. But I sincerely doubt, seriously doubt Pakistan's intention here. Pakistan's might be now, with the changed equation they have with the Americans, they may want the Bagram base to be under American control. So it's a very interesting regional geopolitics which is unfolding in front of our eyes, and we have to wait and watch how it is going.
Absolutely. Akashika, all yours.
Yes, ma'am. Just a quick follow up with Dr. Behuria before we get into the next segment and the next question. So you mentioned that there is a lot of goodwill between the TTP and the Afghani Taliban. You mentioned that there are a couple of ideological similarities, but one thing that often goes underlooked and not talked about as often is the brief mention you did of the tribal connections that all of these groups seem to have. There are a lot of do we call them security apparatus in Afghanistan? There is the Afghan army. There are multiple actors that are playing out, and there is a tribal connection that often goes underlooked. So, just a brief comment on throwing some light on that relationship and how does that pan out in terms of dealing with each other, like we were just talking about.
I'm very happy that you came out with this question. In fact, it was at the back of my mind. I could not elaborate on it. Pakistan has another issue here. The case of the unsettled areas, which they called FATA at one point of time. Now they have roped it into KP. So it's part of KP, but it is not. It is not that much aligned with KP. So you have a sprawling population out there, not quite large, but still significant enough to create problems for Pakistan, who have also been incensed by this attack on TTP, who are mainly Pashtuns. And it is the Pashtun component which also kicks in here. Because Pashtuns, very interestingly quiet, these days Pakistanis have started talking about Pashtuns being only 42% in Afghanistan. This is a very interesting arithmetic which has come to Pakistanis' mind, because day before yesterday, day before that, I was looking at Pakistani analysts very closely in the Pakistani media, and they were all saying that, oh, well, their population is just 42, 43%. And the same Pakistani analysts at one point of time were saying that Pashtuns constitute about 60% of the population in Afghanistan, whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is that the Pashtun sentiment straddle the Durand Line. There are Pashtuns here, Pashtuns there. So which way that Pashtun thing will also unfold is something will be very interesting for us to see. I am not a soothsayer. I do not have the crystal ball with me to say that this exactly is going to happen, because I have seen that the settled areas of Pakistan have always betrayed the Pashtuns like no one else, because they are more Pakistanis than Pashtuns. Then we have to recognize that. But the people on the unsettled areas, they have made common cause with Taliban at the moment, it seems. Even the PTM, the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement, who were very politically oriented, and they were basically had political grievances against the Pakistani state, they seem to be having their own empathies for them. But there is another important thing I must tell you here, that there is a case of local Pashtun elders coming up against the TTP in the unsettled areas of Pakistan even today, which is another interesting dynamic that we have to factor in as well.
Absolutely, sir. I think one of the comments we have Lieutenant General Dushant Singh, the DG of Clause here, who has said something exactly to what you were saying about Pashtunwali code, which is like glue between a lot of communities. And you're absolutely right when it comes to the fact that all of these sociological, ideological, cultural differences have now manifested in the form of grievances, which then again loop into the entire system of how those very factors can be the basis of recruitment for a lot of these extremist ideas and policies. So 100%, and thank you. And I'm really glad that you took up that question. But before we go on, I think we were just talking about the Afghan side of things. Do they have the capability of dealing with something like the TTP that is on their hands, reportedly on their hands? Let's switch back to Pakistan now. See, we see that there have been reports from Pakistani think tanks that has come up in the fact that 2024 was the worst year for them in terms of terrorism in the decade. The kind of security personnel, this is something I think Dr. Behuria also spoke about earlier in the podcast, that it was horrible for them with the kind of numbers they suffered in terms of casualties on their security forces, in the number of increasing attacks that have come up. We also have reports coming in of about 250 to 300 security military personnel in Pakistan dying every month. The point being, and this is two questions again open for the panel, is number one, is this conflict between the two countries likely to escalate? A. And B, if it does Pakistan have the capability to sustain something like that, given everything, given the fact that they have internal fallacies, given the fact that they have conflicts all across their border? So while they are facing and while they're going through such big numbers of security personnel being killed, and like they're getting pulled in all directions, is this likely to escalate, and can they sustain it in the first place? General Pandey, we can start from you.
Yeah. Okay. So while these numbers of death of security forces seems very high, right? But this is sustainable for some time and still not pretty high. There's a sine curve which will happen. There'll be a crest and trough which will happen. There'll be a limit which will be achieved by both TTP and the Pakistani security forces. When you're talking of these numbers, it is not only of Pakistani military, these numbers of police, there's number of frontier corps, there are number of paramilitary police organizations. So when we just throw this number, it seems as Pakistan military is suffering all this death. So that may not be appropriate and correct. So that is one part. And the capacity of Pakistani state to take on this is as of now there. The problem is not of how much and how long will it happen. I think it will happen if it has to continue the way it is going to continue for some time, in which there will be a give and take. And this is not the first time it has happened. Money will exchange, power will exchange, certain compromise will be at the political level or even at the military level, which will happen in terms of which has happened much before as well. And there was a time of peace was there in which both sides carried out certain degree of recalibration of their forces and stance and postures, right? So this will happen. The only thing is when it will happen is a matter of time, and what will egg on TTP to carry out this this pause or this slowing down. What is that animal which is going to force? Is it going to be money? Is it going to be political leverage? Is it going to be space, or certain degree of treaties which will be signed? But this will only happen when there is somebody who's sensible to lead the talk from the Pakistani side, actually. Today, that possibly is not there. So there has to be certain degree of a push, pushing the Pakistani establishment to a corner when these talks will happen, right? So this is one part. The second is going against the Afghans. I'm again reiterating, I'll again reiterate that I don't think Pakistan today has got any capacity to carry out a conventional. What they can carry out strikes, right? And they can carry out certain degree of standoff distance attack in which the response may not happen, a conventional response, and for which Afghanistan actually doesn't have many answers. Afghanistan will carry out operations through their proxies, and there are enough proxies of Afghanistan within Pakistan as of now. So they'll be exploited. It'll be going to be some sort of a proxy war for some point of time between the two countries, and I don't think a conventional war is going to come about in some point of time. But before any major step is taken, Pakistan political system has to look inwards to resolve multiple issues which are going. Without having done that, right, either reaching out for a compromise with TTP or to do something else with Afghanistan is going to be absolutely cavalier and will lead into a slide which will be uncontrollable for Pakistan. And I can assure you, as Ashok ji had said sometime back in a class seminar, which is about 2 days back, we and the world is not prepared to handle it. That will be a very bad situation because today we are not prepared to handle.
How about you, Dr. Behuria? Your thoughts?
On the way it is going to pan out?
Yes, sir. On if it is likely to escalate, and can the Pakistani army take it?
What I believe that they will find a way of toning it down, because Pakistanis are as aware of the mischief potential of the Taliban as Taliban are aware of the mischief potential of ISI. And now they know that ISI is taking a ride on CIA and US. So in that sense, they know what harm Pakistan can cause to them, as much as Pakistanis know how much harm Afghans, Taliban can cause to them as well. So they will very soon settle for a via media. What we Indians have, um, uh, at the moment, what we have in this entire game, where we are located, I will try to talk about that. If you look at it closely, we should not be too euphoric about the disjunction between Taliban and Pakistan. Our relationship with Afghanistan and especially Taliban should be independent of it.
Yes.
We should not be in a celebratory mood because Pakistanis have fallen out with Taliban. Because as the largest country in the region, we have to ensure that we bring prosperity to each corner of South Asia the way we think fit. And we are capable of doing it. But we are always accused of delivery deficit. What we have promised the Taliban, we should try to fulfill. Because our job is to ensure that uh, Afghanistan stabilizes so that this conservative strain that we see in the horizon because of Taliban in power, because of Taliban being in power, actually gradually leads way to a more moderate Afghanistan, which is good for everybody in the region. Because the kind of conservative impulse that emanates from Afghanistan is there for all to see. Pakistan is a victim of that as well. And this TTP is nothing but an emanation of that conservative impulse that Taliban have championed. And that has been allowed to have a state unto itself at the moment. So we should not be forgetting the repercussion of the Pakistan-Afghanistan confrontation on the entire region. So we have to hold our breath, and we have to look at Afghanistan as a country that we want to engage in a very positive way, not as a fallout of Pakistan Afghanistan disjunction. So only then I would say that this will we will be able to achieve our goal. Second thing, if we are looking at this condition this situation to escalate, I would say that every escalation has a culmination point. And this culmination point is already there, I would say, I would imagine. If Pakistanis are going to send their, aircraft and trying to bomb different parts of Afghanistan at the moment, then I would say that they will create problems for themselves again. And I think they are very smart people. They are happy with taking over 21 posts at the moment and flying Pakistani flag there, and that should help them to recoil from where they are today. And I would imagine things will fall into place in few days. But TTP is going to attack, but maybe the speed, the intensity may vary at the moment. But one thing more which I have not discussed, that is the
Mhm.
fitna al Hindustan. Because
Absolutely.
the Pakistanis have talked about not only about fitna al Khawaris, that is TTP, they have also talked about fitna al Hindustan. The India supported here. That is the what do you say, Baloch. Some Baloch camps have been hit. The Brahmachar, there is some Baloch camps there. So Pakistanis are taking this opportunity to not to strike at TTP, but to strike at Baloch as well. And Pakistanis have committed this tomfoolery every time they have used excessive force to take down the Baloch. Actually, force has become the fertilizer for Baloch resistance. And Pakistanis are happily unaware of it. And if they are doing this, then maybe the TTP thing will see some moderation, but the Balochis are going to not going to take it lying down. The Baloch component may also come into play as we go on and see in future. So Pakistanis are going to be what you say affected by terrorism of one kind or another, militancy of one kind of another, because of the kind of thoughtless, I would say, stupid policy that they are following. Because insurgencies are not always, Sri Lanka is an exception, but I would say are not always more, what do you say, dealt with by excessive force. We have to realize that.
I think I would 100% agree with what Dr. Behuria said on the fact that your relations with Afghanistan must stand on its own merits. We should not at any time link it to Pakistan. And the only thing I would disagree with you, Ashok, is that much of the TTP, the whole phenomenon arose from the counterterrorism attitude of the Pakistan army, the number of operations which they've had. So there is a genuine grievance there. There are people who've been, I mean, you saw the roofs of houses were removed because the
Excessive
Pakistan,
force.
yes,
I, to- I, to-
excessive.
I Force.
Yes.
I was telling you that insurgencies are always vetted, like they whet their appetite by resorting to
No,
brutal
what I
force.
meant is it's not just a radical ideology. That ideology or whatever they want has been fueled by the excessive force that you said. So the the radical ideology coming inwards, possible, we don't know, it might, but then Pashtuns as a tribal society, as you know, are not really prone to extreme views. They're extremely religious. That's fine, but they're not prone to. I want to shift this a little bit with my last question, and then Akashika will take on whatever questions there are. See, when this aspect is never looked at, when the Pakistan closes the border to Afghanistan, every time there is something wrong, they will close the border. It is against international law. It is against, on terms of landlocked countries. It is against their bilateral treaty with Afghanistan. And then they say that in this water treaty. I mean, how can you keep doing this and cutting Afghanistan off when it is completely against all accepted norms? Your thoughts on this, General Pandey, both of your short thoughts, and then we'll go into questions.
So, yes, your annoyance on Pakistan is very, very justified, Tara. But the fact also remains that they have been getting away by this duplicity for not now, for all the time. So, today, the narrative they are trying to sell to the world and to the West is they are affected by terror, where they are the
Yes.
fountainhead and the hub. They started, they were used as a terror proxy by the Americans, right? One should totally agree. And Americans are the master of using proxies and paramilitaries against their respective governments and changing. But Pakistan volunteered to be, right? Not once, twice. And the second is that when the global war on terror happened, they very happily used the same systems and weapons to turn it against India and continue to foster what they did. So while you're looking at the world to acknowledge it. India has highlighted number of times, and the fact of the matter is, in this part of the world, the Western powers will only look at you when there are interests involved of theirs. Right now, there are no interests involved. So why should they look at it? Afghans can be damned, and they have got no say, they got no votary. They are unlikely to be taken care of. Yes, India's IWT action may yet ruffle some feather because of the engagement and the proxy tool, Pakistan being of the Trump and others. But again, this is also transactional and transitional. It is not permanent. I'm quite sure that our decision is quite justified of taking the action which we are taking on IWT. In fact, it is delayed. It is not punishing. It is only trying to correct the anomaly of what we should have done long time back. It is so we will not. I will not like to connect IWT with some sort of a violation of international norm, which the Pakistanis are doing. This is totally chalk and cheese and totally different. I just want to highlight one small little thing about the difference between TTP, particularly in KPK and that area. You know, they are riding on a very, very harsh strain or radical strain of Islam. So is the case of with Afghans. Let's look at it. Have they spread it all over the world? Which are the places in the world outside Taliban controlled areas or where the Pashtun or Pashtunwali and radical Islam is being practiced? How many people these tribals have sent voluntarily across in the world to carry out terror attacks? Now switch it to what Pakistan has done. Pakistan has got all elements from variety of the places. They may not be anyone, but they have trained them to be suicide bombers, to carry out terror attacks. They may be studious, they may be intellectuals, they may be literates, they may have done engineering, they may have attended colleges, universities in Western and be very fluent in foreign language and English. But they have perpetuated attacks at the behest of ideology which is emanated from Pakistan. So while as a tribal, Jarawa tribe in Andaman Nicobar may continue to do what they do, the way they live, but they are not forcing anybody else to do. So I'm not a fan of TTP or the tribal practices, what they do. But the fact of the matter is that living their life the way they want to live in their own respective part of the world. Right? That is one part. But when the state reaches out to them for interfering with their life in a different manner, in exploitative manner, then the response is going to come back from them. That is the difference. So I am not totally against TTP, but I'm surely, I will not like to accept this part that what TTP is doing is totally wrong. They are wanting to live their life the way they want to live.
How about you, Dr. Behuria?
No, but I lost the thread. Could you please rehearse again? Like, what was the
So
question?
that's okay. Shall we now take on questions because
Because
we're
General
running?
Pandey was so forceful, I lost the thread.
Yeah, actually, the points are coming written below, I think.
I see.
We can move ahead to questions. We have brilliant questions that have come in from the audience. Let us begin with. Oh, we have a question by DG Claus. For all you know, the Taliban TTP collusion is a tactical move to ultimately break Durand Line and co-opt KKP in Afghanistan. Views of the panel, please. We can
No, I
start with.
think General Dushyant Singh is bang there. I think that's the reason why TTP is actually trying to use TTP as its sword arm. So that's there because they never respected anything west of Indus. It was only because of Ranjit Singh that British India first had their pound of flesh from the Pashtun territory, and then Pakistanis also inherited that. So, but Taliban have never accepted the Durand Line, so that is there. But if you look at the TTP and its efforts, I would say that they are going to continue with their what do you say aim of establishing Islamic Sharia in Pakistan. They are very rigid Orthodox people, and they will continue to do that because there is a curious mix of tribalism and Islam. Because the Islamic Jihad of 1979-89 that has changed the landscape quite a lot. We got them to visit Saharan Dewan, but I dread the prospect of Saharanpur or Durban being affected by the more conservative strain that they have inherited from their interaction with the Saudis. So because the kind of Islam that they tried to what do you say tailor for their anti USSR what do you say efforts in between 79 and 89 was it actually Wahhabized the terrain. So I'm getting the echo here. So the point I'm making is that, but I think that was a good gesture on our part because Taliban are not completely Wahhabized. I would say Pakistanis in the non-Pashtun areas are more Wahhabized today than Pashtuns in the Pashtun belt of Pakistan and Afghanistan. I'll explain what I'm saying. That thanks to the tribal code which is there, thanks to the tribalism which is there, the Islam has not acquired the kind of gravitas that it has acquired in rest of Pakistan. So Islam there is another factor. In addition to the tribal identity, they are Muslims. So that is why you found Taliban even okaying the supply of water from Kabul River to the laying down of the foundation of the Ram Temple here. So this would not happen if people are Wahhabized. So there is some, some I would say strain there, which we would say that still subcontinental in its manifestation. But I would also caution you against running to such conclusion as far as TTP is concerned, because as I told you from the beginning, TTP stands at the intersection between between ISKP and Al Qaeda. Al Qaeda today is moderate, they tolerate Shias. ISKP doesn't tolerate Shias. And ISKP is much more aggressive in its demeanor than Al Qaeda. So, inside the TTP, you also have elements who are very, very orthodox in their outlook. So, how to deal with them as we go on in future will be something that nobody can foretell. Because it will depend on the way Pakistanis will deal with this. Pakistanis, in fact, I would imagine, hold the key to de-radicalization of the entire region. Because unless and until they stop using radicalism for their, cross border activities in Pakistan, India and Afghanistan, I think radicalism will not be of this intensity that we see in Pakistan and rest of the region as well, because it is having impact on the Islam everywhere. You see, you had an Easter bombing in Sri Lanka, which was unthought of. You could never have imagined that kind of a thing happening in Sri Lanka. Well, it was one-off affair, but the virus had moved. So the virus of conservative radical thinking that the Wahhabization of the terrain has bred is not going to die away very fast. And the state sponsor of it has made it worse. But I will tell you another interesting thing. The Taliban 1.0 you found of a different kind. They were very, very anti-Shia. They went into the Shia terrain, killed them, this, that. Taliban 2.0, it was less so because they were under the spell of Al Qaeda. And by that time, Al Qaeda leader Ayman al Zawahiri was making statements that we should not attack Shias. And based on which ISKP came up. ISKP actually dismissed this theory of Ayman al-Zawahiri, right? So Taliban 2.0 you found was Al-Qaedaized and also a little bit more moderate. But Al-Qaeda 3.0 today, I would venture to say, pretends to be even more moderate than Al-Qaeda, Taliban 2.0. This is Taliban 3.0 that we are coming to terms with. They look to be more pragmatic. They look to be more eager to build bridges with many countries. But at the same time, while the political impulse of Taliban kind of persuades them to strike bargains with other countries as well, other religions, other countries as well, there is a religious element to it, which at the moment stands quarantined within the Afghan frontier, but still it is conservative. Like if you look at the way they have tried to ensure that the minorities don't come to the power matrix, the women are still made to suffer. They're not being given education. That shows that still you have a problem out there, which is going to manifest one day. So keeping all this in mind, I would say that wise diplomacy from India would demand, like we engaged the junta in Myanmar, we should engage the Taliban and try to help them moderate themselves if it is possible.
Thank you, sir. I was just wondering throughout, it is always such a pleasure to listen to you because you truly are a treasure trove of information. And we could go on and on and on and on about all of these doubts that we have. But for the lack of time, we can take one last question with very, very quick comments from the panel. Something yet again very topical, very emergent about Mutaki's visit to India. Women journalists really worried with no woman allowed during the first press interaction. This is something that took social media by storm. This is something that resulted in another press conference being held after journalists of India mobilized. What a sight that was, truly. But comments from the panel about how this entire thing panned out with Mutaki's visit. General Pandey, we can start with you.
Taliban to an extent.
Mike.
Yeah. So, hostess, unmute.
Already done, sir. We can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. So, I think that is where we must look at social media as empowering. Hello. Can you hear me?
Sir, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So, what's happened is that this is the time we should agree that social media is empowering and can change the course of even as tough as nut we look at Taliban. And I think Ashok Behuria ji has said very clearly, amplified, that we need to continue to engage on multiple levels to change people. After all, this is the first time such a thing has happened, that a second press conference was held and women journalists were allowed. So all this is possible, and this a great thing happened. But the first one happened also, I think we took it to a little degree of high stretch as well, because they came out with some sort of a sorry statement and saying that they had made the list earlier, it was short notice, and therefore they couldn't get the women inside. I think they were trying and hedging how far they could push the envelope in terms of coming out and talking in the environment outside Afghanistan. And they got pushed back. And if we follow the advice of Ashok Behuria ji, I think maybe in 2 or 3 decades, we can see a modern Taliban going back to erstwhile Afghanistan era, where women had equal rights.
Absolutely. When we are talking about it on the screen right now, we have 2 people who were there at VIF the day Mutaki was here. So we have that now viral tweet of Dr. Tara.
And you too. You were there.
So now we have that tweet.
I think Taraji's Twitter helped them take the decision, and they come out with the second press conference.
Absolutely.
If Taraji is there talking to Mutaki, why can't others do that? But jokes apart, if you ask me, I would say that they corrected their stand sooner than we would have imagined.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. That's a good thing to happen. So if that is why I told you that it is Taliban 3.0. It's not Taliban 2.0. So we are dealing with a different creature altogether. So and it will depend on our strength and our ability to tell truth to them, trying to modify their behavior while we keep the good work going. And not for nothing, Taliban have come back to us. I'm following Pakistan and Afghanistan for the last 38 years, if not more. And I have seen that people from Afghanistan coming and telling us that what good work you have done. The Americans chose to bring in their contractors, their laborers, not laborers, their engineers and all, and they plowed back whatever money they used in Afghanistan. $3 trillion, 60% of them would have been plowed back. Indians chose to go by the community needs. We talked to the community leaders. We tried to see where all they need our help. And we had small projects. We just spent $3 billion compared to $3 trillion that Americans wasted there. But we won the hearts of the Afghans. Any Afghans, any Afghan I have talked to, they have pointed it out that your generous help was widely recognized. And Taliban had on 3-4 occasions grudgingly accepted this. At that point of time, Taliban were sitting at the lap of the ISI. Let us be very frank about it. And they had attacked our embassy, they had attacked our facilities. So that was the Taliban 2.0. And the Taliban had grudgingly accepted that what India is doing, they should keep doing. They should not have boots on the ground. So that was something that we have to look at. So we should keep doing what we are good at. And I would also bring another element here. Like we need to also ensure that our private players get into Afghanistan and establish their facilities there. They should try to participate in the possible economic revival of Afghanistan. The Chinese are very circumspect. They are not the ones who will come there all on their own unless they are supported by others. If we take the lead, go there, bring our private players also there. It could be a PPP also, private public enterprise coming together, partnership, PPP, public private partnership. But we should be able to get over this regional slur that is hurled at us, that we always have delivery deficit coming our way. So if we can deliver and keep our influence going on Afghanistan and on Taliban, I think we will have good things to hear about in the coming days. And apart from that, I must tell you another thing, that we have to find a way of, if Pakistan is eager to talk, while we strongly, I strongly support the efforts at the national level to strengthen our army and take it to a level where Pakistanis will be automatically deterred by our capability. I would also say that a wide state always has several irons in the fire. While you do that, you should also try out what all they have to say if they come to have a dialogue with us. Shehbaz Sharif has come out with that statement in the United Nations that we want to have comprehensive dialogue. Let us try him out. And I would say that that will be the mark of a confident, brave nation.
Okay, I think we can just wrap this up now. We've
Taraj, मैं
got.
आपको सुन नहीं पा रहा हूँ. I'm not able
Okay.
to hear you all.
My mic
Ma'am,
is on.
we can hear you.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
So maybe
Okay.
you hear him, but I am unable to hear. There's some issue here. I know. I don't know. I couldn't hear out General Pandey also.
That is because he doesn't want to
Anyway.
hear us.
Yes, that's the thing. Okay, so just let's wrap this up
Happy to
here.
read lips.
I'm just going to mention I'm just going to mention two things. One is that Kabul is completely water starved. That is one area where we need to help. They have no water. They are in grief. Number two is, one of the major things the Taliban did is they wiped out narcotics virtually. I mean, almost. We need to help in alternative agriculture. And I completely agree with you. It has to be private players going in but the trouble is then you're talking of security for them. Right now, the foreign minister Mutaki says we are giving complete security to gurudwaras, to temple. He says everything is being done. So hopefully this will go forward. This was a fascinating panel. Thank you all for being part of this, and we will close this now. Particularly thanks to our outside panelist and Akashika. You did a splendid job. Thanks so much.
Thank you once again for joining.